Welcome to Business Legal Lifecycle TV, the live TV show all about the legal aspects of your business to help educate you on complex legal terms in an easy to understand manner, to help understand why you need to do certain things in your business from a legal point of view, and to help you develop a plan for the future. Our mission at Business Legal Lifecycle is to help empower all small to medium-sized businesses around the world to get access to legal advice so that they can help build their communities and make the world a better place. Did you know that any business owner is on average 7 months away from losing everything? That is the average time it takes from a successful business to fold when an aspect of their business is not set up correctly. Have you ever wanted to get legal advice but didn't understand what was going on? Do you feel like there is a divide between lawyers and their clients? Then this TV show is for you. It is all about empowering you and your business with the knowledge and tools to ensure that this doesn't happen to you. Business Legal Lifecycle TV delivers a twice-weekly show focusing on the legal aspects of your business. At lunchtime on Mondays, we present Fast Fix Monday, a quick 5 to 10 minute show that will give you some actionable steps to consider for the week for your business. And at lunchtime on Wednesdays, we present our in-depth show of between 30 minutes and an hour, where we go through complicated legal aspects of your business in a simple to understand, plain English manner. And whether that is through educational pieces or interviews with experts in their fields.
Afternoon everyone, and welcome to Business Legal Lifecycle TV. Today is Wednesday and we're in March 2018, looking at sale of your business, phase 13. This is one of our episodes where we interview someone in the industry. Today the person that Jeremy has interviewed is a gentleman by the name of David Biddle. Now, David runs Brilliant Businesses, which helps to sell a business, and he's got a unique methodology and process to get the sale done. So he's a business exit specialist, and he's also a licensed business agent. It was after he sold his own lifestyle business called Smart Boating via a website that he decided to go into partnership with Deb Jeffries from Brilliant Digital. And together they formed the Brilliant Group and founded Brilliant Businesses as part of that to provide other successful business owners with an innovative alternative to the traditional business broking method. So Brilliant Businesses aims to make the whole process of business exit easy so you can enjoy a fast and profitable transition to your next adventure. So we're pretty excited to have David on Business Legal Lifecycle TV. We know that he's got a lot to add. So, Jaron, do you want to touch on sort of the top 3 takeaways that you got from the interview with David to share with the viewers?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Craig. Well, the interview with David was a lot of fun. David's someone that we've known for some time, and he's got a really unique way of selling businesses that I haven't seen before. And that's why I wanted to get him on to kind of go through his methodology. So the first one is really the methodology that he and Deb have for the business sales. It's really nice to see a professional put a methodology in place to really provide value for their clients. The second one is just the way they go about selling businesses. So you'll see that they use a lot of social media, a lot of the social media tactics that people use in business. They use a lot of that stuff, and that's really cool. And I thought too, the stuff that I went through with him about the future and what's next on the horizon was really interesting. So look, we go through quite a lot of topics, and we talk about the different processes in place. As always, there's a worksheet for today's episode, which you'll find at businesslegallifecycle.com.au. This is show 75, so 075. So please enjoy my interview with David Biddle. Welcome, David, to Business Legal Lifecycle TV and our podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start about a bit about you and your business. So can you give me a bit about your history and how you got into business sales?
Okay, well, as a youngster, I was always fascinated by business in general, and particularly business efficiency. And I guess, like a lot of people, my youngsters, when I went through school and uni, always on the lookout for ways to make money. So yeah, always dabbling in little sort of entrepreneurial businesses, and that really suited, I guess, my sort of creative and innovative nature. Yeah. Sorry, I keep going. So I grew up So I grew up in the UK. My formal studies were going to uni and doing a degree in applied photography, film and TV, where I specialised in studio photography and specifically in the audio-visual industry. That actually led to an amazing experience working in the live event production business. So initially I was working for another company, and then I actually set up my own business. Over the next 15 or 16 years, I had an amazing opportunity to work with some awesome clients, to travel extensively around Europe predominantly, and my responsibility was staging conferences, roadshows, product launches for some fairly major blue chip corporates. So they were companies that had some decent budgets, believed in doing things properly, and enabled us to go out there and be very creative in the way we communicated their messages and launched their products.
Cool.
That was something that I really loved. It was quite a high pressure job. Obviously, a deadline in a live event industry is a deadline. There's no telling 1,000 people waiting to walk through the door to an auditorium that you're not quite ready and can they come back tomorrow. So deadlines were deadlines. So it was a nice combination of being creative, working really efficiently, being innovative, and I particularly enjoyed something that delivered an immediate, tangible outcome. And you could see the immediate uptake that the delegates got and the company benefited from.
I'm intrigued. Are there any specific examples of things that maybe didn't go so well and had to be solved in a quick time frame that you can say without breaching any confidentiality?
I guess a little bit ironic. We were actually responsible for doing the UK London launch for IBM's Warp, which was their rival at the time. This is going back in the 90s, and was their rival at the time to Windows. So although the event was very successful, the product literally failed to get off the ground. So that was maybe not the most efficient launch we ever did, but through no fault of our own, I hasten to add.
No worries. So why did you get into the market of selling businesses?
Okay, so having worked in the audiovisual industry for a number of years, I decided it was probably time for a lifestyle change. My kids were young, and as a family, we were looking for a bit of an adventure. So back in 2004, we packed our bags and we moved the other side of the world, came to Australia, and I was looking for a real lifestyle change, and the opportunity came up to buy a yacht charter company on Pittwater. Being an avid boatie and passionate about my sailing, for me it was an ideal opportunity to combine, a hobby with what became an awesome lifestyle business to operate.
Excellent.
I ran that for 10 years, and it was through running that business that I met my now business partner, Deb Jeffries. She was a digital marketeer, and I employed her services fairly early on in the time I owned the business to really start deploying a lot of digital marketing techniques to help me grow the business and reach out to new markets. And being a relatively small boating destination, Pittwater obviously doesn't rival Sydney Harbour or particularly the Whitsunday Islands. We actually managed to build a business that punched well above its weight in terms of exposure to leisure market customers, and we built a very successful yacht charter business, and then I also expanded that into a yacht syndication operation as well, and digital marketing and the websites and the booking systems and the whole digital platform we built were all instrumental in growing that business.
Cool. So when you said lifestyle change, is that the heat, or as opposed to the cold, or something else?
Oh, I think it's. I think for me, a lifestyle change was doing something that I love. I mean, for me, working on the water, introducing people to the sport of sailing, providing a number of different product offerings that enable people to get out on the water and just have an experience of some of the amazing waterways that Australia has to offer. Why wouldn't you enjoy doing that as a job? It really doesn't seem like a job. So for me, it was a real lifestyle opportunity, which I seized with open arms and ran that for 10 years, and 10 very enjoyable years there were.
So that's about 2014. So then your next change into selling your own business. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. So what happened with that was, yeah, 10 years, I felt I'd grown the business to where I wanted to grow it, and I was ready for another change. So I thought, right, it's time to sell. How am I going to sell this business? Well, to me, I guess the obvious approach was to go online, Google business brokers, and find a couple of brokers that I thought could do a reasonable job, and meet with them, and then choose one of them. Mm-hmm. So I went through that process, and I guess very quickly I became aware that most of the brokers that I talked to, there were a number of things that I felt they were lacking. They really didn't understand my business. It was a bit of a niche business. It was it's not every day you get to sell a yacht charter company. So they really lacked a bit of knowledge and detail as to the market in which I operated. Yep. And therefore you could tell that they were struggling to kind of know which database to go to who to reach out to and try and find a buyer, and therefore the enthusiasm to get me the best result was somewhat lacking. Yeah. Rather disappointingly for me, they also sort of gave me a valuation that I was very disappointed with. Warned me that it might take at least a year to sell the business, and to make matters worse, sort of said, oh, and by the way, we're going to charge you probably up to 10% of your sale price if we do find you a buyer. Mm. So being somebody who was pretty passionate, as I said before, about business efficiency and innovation, that whole package didn't sit particularly well with me. So Deb and I got our heads together and brainstormed some ideas, and seeing as we'd both witnessed the role that digital marketing had played in growing the business in the first place, to us it just seemed highly appropriate to use a digital solution for selling the business. Yep. So what we actually did was we built another website, so that's completely separate from the business's day-to-day trading websites, but a website that was built with the sole purpose of marketing the business for sale. And to cut a very long story short, a combination of a great website, rich with really informative, appealing content, lots of pictures that would sort of make people think, oh wow, that's the job for me, I could really fancy that. We actually managed to sell the business in 3 months. From advertising to money in the bank, new owners operating the business, and for me it was a great outcome because I actually secured a purchase or sale price of double the broker's valuation. Wow. And also, really importantly, to two guys who bought the business between them, who were absolutely ideal. They had the same ethos as I did, as to a great way of bringing people into the world of sailing. Yep. And they've expanded the business very successfully since I sold it to them, and they really are a market leading business in that syndicate boat industry today. Excellent. That's good to know. So what have you found? Obviously you've been around for a while in doing business sales since 2014. What's the one thing that you find people get wrong about business sales most often? Okay, for me, it always comes really down to one thing, and that's lack of preparation. Mm. There are a lot of people that, and people decide to sell business, or come to the decision to sell a business for a whole variety of reasons. Sometimes it's something that's planned. Sometimes it's something that they just, the circumstance means that they just have to sell it quickly. And sometimes it comes from, maybe an inquiry. Someone actually comes to them and offers to buy them. Mm. But the one thing that consistently is what either prevents the business owner taking their business to market or forces them to miss out on a great opportunity is lack of preparation. Yeah. And that comes in a number of ways. They've got to be prepared with all their financial figures are key. I'll continue to be amazed with the number of businesses that haven't filed accounts from 2 or 3 years ago and BAS returns and various other things, let alone not up to date with sort of monthly management accounts. So that's a big issue that we come up against time and time again. And then also their preparation. Strategically they've got to be ready. Their company really should be operating lots of systems and processes in place, so it's operating very effectively. Everything needs to physically present well. There's no point in trying to sell a business where the vehicles look tired and the building's looking tired, or the warehouse is looking a mess and disorganized. So there's a whole heap of physical preparation that has to take place. And on top of all that, this vendor's got to be emotionally ready to sell as well. So there's a lot of boxes that need to be ticked, and in fact we won't take a business to market until everything's prepared, because otherwise it's just it's a waste of everybody's time. You know the deal's going to fall over as soon as someone starts looking at it in depth.
Yeah, I think that's definitely right. I think the preparation is really the key for people and for businesses when they want to sell. And a lot of people don't really think about that, do they? And it can end up costing them a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and missing opportunities. So it's very hard to get an interested prospect back on the hook again if they've gone and seen something that they don't like. It's more often than not, that's it. You've just got one chance to make that initial great first impression.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, obviously you've got a lot of experience in the industry. So how do you think that experience has helped you to do what you're doing now?
So first of all, I mean, I think you have to be prepared that it is actually a very hard job to get the right buyer for a business. So I'm particularly proud of the passion and the hard work that I put into getting owners not only the best price for the business, but also finding the right buyer for their business. A lot of people have spent a lot of time, money, blood, sweat and tears building up a successful business. And yes, of course, the money's important and that they get the exit that they want. But I think it's also important from a pride point of view that they find a buyer who's going to look after the existing team, who's going to look after the customers, and basically create the next successful chapter in that business's story. No one wants to sell a business and see it fail.
No.
So I think it's important that you get the right buyer on board, so that you leave knowing that your legacy has been left in good hands. I also really enjoy the challenge of thinking outside the box. So, being innovative, making sure that we're going out with some really cool marketing, connecting with the right prospects. If there are solutions that need to be found to roadblocks we encounter, obviously just being strategic, coming up with the right ways to work around those, and basically get buyer and sellers to a point where there's a deal on the table, and it's got to be a win-win for all parties. Yep. I've been there, done that. I think that helps a lot, and I do understand that selling a business for anyone is a big decision. And I appreciate that when someone gives me a business listing, they're actually putting a lot of trust in me, and I want to be respectful of that. And I'll work really hard to get a great result for every client that puts that trust in me for selling what, to be honest, is probably their most valuable asset in many cases. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, as I said, that's a nice segue into the next topic of selling a business. So we mentioned in the introduction that you've got a methodology of 5 steps for how you sell a business. So do you want to go through those 5 steps and maybe just educate everyone about how you do things and how you do them differently with the innovative approach?
Yeah, sure. This has really come about with feedback from business owners. The reality is most people only probably sell a business once or twice in their lives, so it's something they're not doing on a day in, day out basis, and therefore it's something that when you first look at the process of selling a business, it can be a little bit daunting. You don't know who you need to help you. You don't know where to start, how long the process is going to take. Valuing a business is a whole science in itself. So what we've tried to do is based on business owner feedback, is put together an end-to-end approach. So we're really there to work alongside as a trusted partner and guide a vendor through the whole process of exiting their business. So where we start is when an owner has basically got their business ready for sale, in terms of they've done the investment that they need, they've put their team in place, they've systemized their key processes. Yep. There are a lot of coaches and businesses that will work with owners in sort of maybe the 3 or 5 years before they're ready to go to market, to get them ready to go to sell. We don't compete with them. We really pick up where those guys leave off, to make sure that, having invested all that time and effort and hard work to getting the business where it is, we then do the best possible job in marketing and finding the right buyer and getting them the financial outcome they deserve.
Yep.
So our process starts with, as I mentioned before, preparation is key. So we'll work with a business owner to make sure that all the preparation that's needed is done. So as I touched on before, that's physical, that's emotional, that's financial, that's logistical, that's structural. Yep. Making sure that accounts are all up to date. It's important that the accountant's on board. Any physical stuff that needs tidying up at factories or work premises or with vehicles or staff uniforms, all that sort of stuff is all taken care of. It's really important that when we get a prospect on the hook and we showcase the business to them, the fewer issues they can see in it, the more likely they are to proceed through the sale process. So a lot of preparation up front. Mm-hmm. And for us, that also means, and from a legal point of view, you'd be interested in this as well, Jeremy. From a legal point of view, all the documents are uploaded to a data vault on the websites that we build to market the businesses for sale. So what that does is it provides a central resource of everything from employee contracts to premises leases to vehicle registration documents to GST returns to tax returns, are all in one central vault, so that once we've, obviously after the appropriate non-disclosures and pre-qualification have been signed and pre-qualification has taken place, we're able to give access to both the prospect and also their team of financial advisors and accountants to look at all the material to do a really thorough, comprehensive evaluation of a business.
And can I just say, just on that, I think that's a really great resource for people to have. And it's something that's missed out a lot on is actually having all the documentation that can be provided. And what ends up happening, I see all too often, is the business owners don't, when they're selling a business, don't have that ready. And then it takes another 6 months to get the sale, whilst accountants and bookkeepers go through materials, lawyers draft documents and all the rest of it. So I think that's really key to getting a quick sale and making sure it's done correctly.
Absolutely. Statistics show that a lot of business sales will fall over in the due diligence process. So at least by having everything prepared up front, we can keep things moving through the process swiftly and efficiently, and obviously minimise the chances of a deal falling off the rails. So I agree, that's really important. So that really covers stage one of our 5-step process. Stage 2 is how we actually pitch the opportunity out to the marketplace. So because we come really from a marketing background, but specifically a digital marketing background, our approach is to build a bespoke website marketing the business for sale. So I stress this isn't their day-to-day operational website. This is a new website that will be probably only in existence and up on the internet for 3 or 4 months, or however long it takes to attract the right buyer. So that website it's kind of selling the dream. It's promoting this fantastic opportunity out to prospects. So it'll address things like, obviously, the markets the business works in, the opportunities there are for expansion, the team that run it now, the lifestyle benefits the new owner's going to enjoy. We don't disclose financials in the publicly available part of the website specifically, but we can hint at the bonuses and the benefits that are going to be gained from running a business like this. So it's really engaging content. It typically has lots of really cool photography in it. Some businesses we sell, we need to do aerial stuff of a property or drone stuff of it's a sporting type business. There might be some drone material that's shot. It's all material that's designed to engage somebody in as much as they can then put themselves in the position of being the owner of that business and start to live the dream and say, yeah, this is a business I'm interested in. This is something I'm going to inquire about. And
on that, you and I have talked about this before, but what do you get any resistance from business owners from putting all that information up on a website, or is your opinion that, well, they're just not the right client for me if they're not willing to have all that information up there? Like, how do you overcome that objection, and what should people be thinking about the benefits of doing that as opposed to, say, a traditional sale process?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point, Jeremy. Our solution isn't suitable for everybody. There will be businesses that for various reasons have to go on the market confidentially. So there'll be, typically B2B sales where they're making strategic approaches to other people, operating in the same market as them. But for the majority of businesses that approach us, our philosophy is very much, you can't sell a secret. So if you're really serious about selling and you want to go out there and attract the best possible interest and ultimately the best possible price, you've got to be prepared to put your business out there in the public domain for everyone to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's very much the approach we take. What's really important, and obviously what a lot of people do worry about, is staff finding out in the right way, customers, suppliers finding out. So we also will work with a business owner to assist with that communication process.
Right.
When to tell those people, how to tell them.
Yep.
At the end of the day, it's vital that they hear from the business owner as a sort of personalised approach,
Yep.
as opposed to come across the website. The last thing you want is a staff member suddenly finding the business he works for is being sold, and he's one of the last to know about it.
Yeah, that wouldn't be necessarily the best approach. I think most staff members would really not like that very much. So that's the first two. Is there anything else on pitch before we move on to the third one?
Well, the pitch then is a nice segue into our third P of our 5P process, which is to promote the opportunity. Now, this is where our solution is fundamentally different, and to the best of my knowledge, it's fairly unique, the way that we are promoting businesses for sale. Rather than have a piece of marketing and I guess sitting back and waiting for someone to find that opportunity, we are very proactive in how we promote that business sale opportunity. So by that I mean we identify types of people who we think might be interested in the business that we're marketing. And then we're very specific in placing predominantly Facebook, Google, and a little bit of LinkedIn marketing and advertising in the feeds of those particular people. So nowadays, particularly with Facebook, you can target by not only geography, by age, by job title, by interest groups. There's a whole realm of data that as marketeers we can tap into. Yep. So for example, let's supposing we were selling an animal related business, we might brainstorm that and think, okay, so people that might be interested in this could be a vet or a vet nurse or a breeder of some sort, or someone who operates a pet shop, or you brainstorm a whole host of ideas, and then we can specifically target those people in their Facebook feeds, so that advertisements for the business that we're selling with nice teaser text, appealing photographs, will stop them in their tracks as they're scrolling through their Facebook feeds and say, oh, yeah, that's interesting. I'm interested in animals. I'm going to click on this link and have a look at this business opportunity. And then all of a sudden they're on this website, which is a really cool piece of marketing. And we've had great success in attracting people to look at businesses that actually aren't actively in the market to buy a business. But you put the right opportunity in front of them at the right time. It's like dangling a carrot, and sooner or later someone will bite.
Yeah, excellent. And do you like sit down with the business owner and work out what a ideal buyer avatar or anything like that, or like how do you determine exactly what that right buyer is?
Yeah, I mean, clearly the business owner knows best about what attracted them to the business in the first place, why they built it the way they built it. So their input is invaluable. But as marketeers, we're also very good at sort of thinking outside the box and saying, okay, so here's a business that's in X market. Who else outside of that might have similar interests and similar buying behaviors? And again, we as marketeers, we can tap into all that. So we spread a fairly wide net, but it's a targeted net as well. So people who if you're selling a yachting business, you've obviously got to market that to people who have an interest in, the ocean, yachting, classes of boat, key yacht races, all that sort of stuff. So that's what we do.
Cool. That sounds really good. So what about the next stage?
So the next stage is sort of once we've attracted a buyer. Obviously, as a business, we're licensed business brokers, so we go through that whole process of buyer selection, working with them to find out who the serious potential buyers are, feeding them information, and that comes off our website. We typically set up our data vaults with 2 levels of access. The first is the business overview, or traditionally what would be called an IM. So that's giving all the financials, overview of the business, and that's only disclosed once someone signed a non-disclosure agreement and they've been pre-approved. And then when we get to the stage of more serious due diligence, maybe an offer's on the table, or someone's looking for an exclusivity period for reviewing the due diligence material. We've then also got all that stored in the cloud to provide them access to as well. So it's really sort of working with them, taking them through the process until ideally we have an acceptable offer on the table and heads of agreement signed, and then it's over to the legal team to pull it all together in terms of a deal.
Yep.
And then as and when things are ready for settlement, then working with both parties just to facilitate that whole settlement process and get the owner's money in the bank for him and him out of the business.
And so that's the fifth step. Proceed, is that right?
So we've gone through procuring our offer, and then proceeding to facilitate the whole process to successful settlement.
Excellent. Well, as we've talked about before, we're all about practical things as well, and helping people get some ideas about what they need to do to sell the business. Because I think one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that at some time they're going to exit their business, and that people need to be live to that, and they need to be live to the fact that they need to start having things ready. So what can you give some practical things that a business owner should start doing, today or in the next week, to start setting their business up for sale, so that process can be sped up as much as possible?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, first of all, I'd preempt what I'm going to say by, really, you should always be ready for sale. Yes. If you set your business up so that it's always operating at maximum efficiency, everything's running smoothly, one, you're going to enjoy it more while you're operating it, and two, if you get a knock on the door one day that's unexpected and someone wants to buy the business, basically you kind of need to be ready to jump at a great opportunity. So ideal world, always be ready, but as you work towards that ideal world, I guess one of the main things that you need to do as a business owner is effectively make yourself redundant from your own business. A lot of business owners suddenly find that when they go to market, the business is actually too dependent on them. They're the ones that are running everything on a day-to-day basis. They're the ones with the relationships with the clients and the suppliers, and take them out of the equation, and really you get left with an empty shell, and it's hard to sell an empty shell. So my best piece of advice would be, make yourself redundant from your own business. Your own business should be able to operate while you're not there. Yep. And if you've been giving yourself regular holidays, and you've been taking extended time out of the office to pursue other activities in the years leading up to sale, you can be pretty confident that you've got a business that's running without you, and it's a genuine business that's a sellable asset rather than just a job for yourself. So that would be my number one recommendation. Other things over and above that would be, obviously, systemize the business as much as possible, and that's all going to help the business operating without you being part of it on a day-to-day basis. Really important to keep all your financials in order. There's no point in taking a business to market if you haven't got updated financials. It's the first thing any buyer is going to be asking to look at. So having to say to them, oh, I'm waiting for my accountant, I should have last year's financial reports ready in a month or two's time, that's just not going to cut it. You need to be 100% ready with all that and have up-to-date information. If you're selling a business in this time of the year, January, February, March, it's no good not having any up-to-date figures from the last annual accounts at the end of June. You've got to have year-to-date monthly accounts going forward. I might be somewhat biased, but I'm a big believer in having a very effective digital strategy in place. A good digital strategy that's firing properly can be continually delivering quality leads to a business. Have that in place, that's going to be very appealing to a buyer. We've already talked about physical appearance of the business, so that's, as I said before, first impressions count. So try and make sure you've got all your house in order as far as that's concerned. Fix up any issues. There's no point in going to market thinking that you're going to keep all that hidden. An experienced, savvy buyer is going to find them when they start delving deep into doing their due diligence on your business. I think it's important to have a good team around you. Selling a business is a stressful process. So if you've got a good team by your side, and by team I mean a broker, a lawyer, obviously your own accountant, and sometimes a mentor, a trusted person that can be by your side just to bounce ideas off, can be useful too. And finally, have a plan of what you're going to do once the sale's complete. That's important as well. I think if you know the reason why you're selling and what happens after the business is handed to the new owner, that's going to help keep you motivated through the whole process. So they would be my top tips.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, the last one about having a plan for what you're going to do afterwards. I've acted for a lot of business sellers, and often that they just think that they're going to go off and go on a holiday for the rest of their lives, and they're back at work within about 6 months. Have you seen that happen quite often?
Yeah, and that's purely because their mind was focused on selling the business, and they hadn't really stopped to think what they were going to do to replace that big part of their life afterwards. So, you know, there's lots of options that people go on to do, but I think it's just really important to have an idea as to what one or two of those options might be.
Yep, absolutely. Well, are you able to give us any examples? If you don't want to reveal names, you don't need to, but can you give some examples of how your unique approach has helped some businesses sell, and what the rewards been for those business owners? Yeah,
so I mean, I'll talk about a couple of success stories. We recently sold Windcraft. Now, Windcraft are one of Australia's largest luxury yacht importers. They represent a number of key brands that they import predominantly from Europe and sell into Australia and New Zealand. We took that business to market, implemented our 5-step approach.
Yep.
I used that as a good example because that was very much a lifestyle business. So the website was full of great images of luxury yachts and people out on the water enjoying themselves in the beautiful Australian sunshine. Yeah. Showed the owner of that business enjoying Hamilton Island Race Week, competing in the Sydney Hobart Yacht Race, cruising up the east coast of Australia with his family. So it was very aspirational. And we promoted that obviously out to the yachting community, brainstormed people who we thought might be interested in that business. And our digital marketing activity, the ads that we put out there, reached over 500,000 viewers. Yep. And that actually created 9,500 visits to the website that we built for the purpose of selling that business. And those visitors resulted in 68 firm expressions of interest. A couple of key players sort of came to the front of that prospect list, and we managed to identify one that was ideally suited to the business in terms of his knowledge of the brands. Had existing knowledge of the brands that the business represented, was familiar with the sailing community in and around Sydney, and because all the information was prepared up front, we were able to facilitate that deal 5 months from beginning to end. And that, I have to say, was over Christmas and New Year as well, when a lot of the banks and the lawyers were on holiday for a few weeks. So 5 months from beginning of marketing to new owner on board in the business, and the other owner money in the bank and moving on to his next venture. So those numbers are phenomenal in business broking terms. I mean, to have 9,500 visits to a website and 68 expressions of interest in a short period of time, most traditional brokers would be, delighted to get half of that in a year. So that was truly phenomenal results.
Absolutely. And
another example I can give you was a luxury pet kennel boarding facility up in the Hunter Valley. Similar story with that in terms of numbers. In fact, we actually had significantly more inquiries, similar level of exposure, higher level of inquiries, something like 178 written inquiries for that business. The animal loving population of Australia is huge, so that didn't come as a surprise. But because we had a lot of interest, we ran open days for that particular business. Oh, wow. Had 35 separate parties come to an open day, so it was a bit like running a house auction but for a business sale. And again, soon we were able to identify a buyer for whom it was a very strategic purchase.
Yep.
And therefore they were prepared to pay a premium price. And that's another benefit of a very focused marketing campaign that identifies the right buyer and gets the business owner the best possible outcome.
Excellent. Any other examples that you want to throw in there, or is that those two are very important, show a lot of the value that you can provide, but just curious if there's any others.
Yeah, I mean, what we've done more recently is those are sort of the big businesses with multi-million-dollar price tags on them. what we've done more recently is we've produced a slightly scaled down approach, which is still based around, you know, heavy digital marketing, targeted advertising, but rather than building a complete website as a standalone entity, we've got specifically designed template pages on our own website that showcase smaller businesses on a slightly smaller scale. That you'll see being rolled out on our website over the next couple of months, and that just enables us to provide our offering for businesses that might only be selling for, you know, $300,000 and up, as opposed to multi-million-dollar price tags on them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I think that's a great technique, and I mean, you can certainly show the results of you know, that and how that works. So let's transition into the future. So you know, it's something I talk about a lot with my guests. There's a lot of talk around in all industries about disruption. There's, you know, in every industry there's disruption. What do you see the biggest challenges in the commercial business broking space over, say, the next 5 years?
Okay, well, it's sort of no secret that we've got a tsunami of baby boomers heading for retirements at the moment. So what that means is there's going to be a lot more businesses coming on the market in the next couple of years. The counters, so that's on the one hand is good news, lots of businesses coming on the market, but it also, the reality is there's less buyers out there, and buyers with more choice can be far more strategic and far more picky with what they're going to buy. So there is going to be a lot of competition in the business sales space, and the businesses that sell them get the right financial outcomes are going to be the ones that have really put the hard work into building a sustainable business that's a business on its own right and not dependent on one particular person is ongoing involvement. So yeah, the message is get ready for that competitive market and really make sure your business is positioned in the best possible way going forward. Banks are also tightening up on lending a lot. I mean, that's something we're coming up again more and more and more. You can have a business that's fantastic, pipeline of, you know, forward orders, but if a bank perceived that for whatever reason as being a risk, because if in the event of a default, they might have to wait for dogs to be bred or a product to be built and developed to see that money come back in, they won't lend against that because it's just put in a too risky basket for them. So you've got to be realistic with your expectations. Because banks are tightening up on lending, cash buyers are great news if you can secure a cash buyer for your business. But equally, cash buyers are really savvy. They know that their money as a cash buyer is worth a lot more, so they'll be the ones that are looking to drive a harder bargain and knock you down on price. More and more vendors have to do some form of vendor finance on a business deal as a result of the banks being reluctant to lend. So a cash buyer is worth their weight in gold. So yeah, as I say, it is going to be competitive. The good businesses will still sell, but the poorly operated ones or those that are in industries that are themselves going to be disrupted, they're going to struggle. So I guess a word of warning: if your retirement depends on a specific financial outcome from the sale of your business, you need to proceed very cautiously and you know, take some good advice and really put the right steps in place to maximize your chances of a successful sale.
I think that's great advice. I think, you never know what might happen in the future, so don't make your retirement dependent upon the price that you get for your business. I think that's probably a very poor strategy if you can avoid it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's next on the horizon for you?
So our sort of approach and our involvement in the business sales space is I guess still fairly new. We're still in our infancy as developing that business, but you know, we've got some great results under our belt. So our process is being recognized as being very innovative, very effective. We're getting good inquiries, really good inquiries from business owners, you know, wanting to engage with our process and for us to take their business to market. So we're really flattered by that level of interest and that trust that's being put in us. So I guess my role is to really capitalize on that unique opportunity that we've got to personally build my own profile. So I'm an influencer in that business exit space. and to establish brilliant businesses as a major player in the industry.
Excellent. That's very good and a very good goal, because as you said before, there is a baby boomer tsunami of business exits coming, so we need to be ready for that going forward. So yeah. All right, so let's move over to the quickfire questions. So you ready? Got 4 quick questions. Just give me the first thing that comes to mind. And
okay.
Yep. So what's the book that you're currently reading and why?
Okay, so the book that's by the side of my bed at the moment is a book called Legacy by James Kerr. It's all about the All Black rugby team, basically what makes them thrive, what makes them continue to be one of the most successful teams in the world, and I guess what teamwork generally can teach us about the business of life, and how we can all draw parallels from their success and implement that in our own business environment.
Great.
Fascinating book.
Yeah, fascinating. I haven't read it myself, but I know quite a few people have, and everyone says that it's a fabulous book. So what about, of all the business books you've read, what do you think is one that every business owner should read?
Personally, one of the best ones that I've enjoyed reading a couple of times is Steve Jobs. I mean, the guy was an inspirational genius in my eyes, and the tenacity and innovativeness and all those other key qualities that he displayed time and time again, and continued to overcome adversity and setbacks, and the belief that he had that he could change the world. He's, in my eyes, one of the very few people that have actually gone ahead and done that, and it's a sad loss that he's not with us anymore. I would love to have seen what other things he would have brought to the 21st century, given half a chance.
Yeah, it is quite sad, isn't it? So third question, what is the number one thing that you see people get wrong in business? So I asked you what people get wrong in business sales before, but this is more broadly in business in general.
Jeremy, for me, it's the really simple stuff. It's not delivering on a promise.
Yep.
So many businesses just get the basics wrong.
Yep.
If they delivered on their promise, just half the time, they would put themselves in the top 10 to 15% of businesses in this country. We're just continually let down by people promising the world and then just not delivering. So I reckon if you just get that really simple thing right, you're halfway there to actually building a good business.
Yeah, great answer. And finally, if you could give advice to your younger self, what would that advice be?
Be brave. Be always looking for challenges. Don't get comfortable in your environment and sit back and think, this is my lot. For me, it's always pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, looking for opportunities, taking on new challenges, becoming a better person today than I was yesterday. And I think that just keeps everybody fresh. It keeps the team around you inspired.
Yep.
And it's for me, it just enables you to get the most out of life, outside of work as well as inside.
Yep, absolutely, great answer. Well, thank you very much. We'll go out of the quickfire, and just I've got a couple more questions. Is there anything we've missed today that you think it's important that you want to get across as part of this interview?
I guess just from a sort of a little push from our own business is, more than happy to just have a no obligation chat with anybody, just sort of starting to think about that process of maybe I might be ready to go to market soon. It's always good to start engaging with people and get opinions, and we're more than happy to invest time and just have a chat with somebody and talk through any concerns they might have, give a little bit of advice as to what they need to consider.
Yep.
And if as a result of that, then we can help list their business, then obviously we'd be delighted to do that, but certainly no obligation in those early stages.
Absolutely. Well, that leads nicely into the last question: is where can people reach you, and especially if they want to discuss anything about today and how you might be able to help their business.
Yeah, I mean, best way is to jump on our website. That'll give you a good overview of who we are and what we do. That's www.brilliantbusinesses.com.au, and on there are various methods of contacting us: telephone, inquiry form, booking an initial consultation call. Can all be done most easily and effectively via the website.
Excellent. Well,
Excellent.
David, thank you very much for your time. I think that our listeners and our viewers would have got a lot of value out of today. So thank you very much for your time on Business Legal Lifecycle TV and our podcast.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thoroughly enjoyed being part of the show. Thank you very much.
Well, I hope everyone enjoyed that interview with David Biddle. As I said at the beginning, the three main things that I got out of that interview were their unique methodology of selling businesses, their 5-step plan that he went through. I thought that was really fascinating. It's something that I really enjoy seeing some sort of methodology in place because it helps give some context to what people are doing. The second one, as I said at the intro, was their digital way and digital remarketing methodology of selling businesses. It's a great way to sell a business to a lifestyle business, and you can really see from the examples that he gave the way that he is able to sell businesses and give people some real value in the businesses. And you can see from just the results and the examples that he gave, really how that methodology really does work. And the final thing that I hope you got away from today is the future. Business sales is one of those areas that is starting to really blossom. We're going into a baby boomer tsunami, as they like to say, with lots of baby boomers coming up to sell their businesses. So you need to be ready to get that ready for the business. As I said at the beginning, there's a worksheet, businesslegallifecycle.com.au/075. And even if you're selling your business now, or even if you're selling the business in the future, I'd really encourage you to get that worksheet and go through some of the exercises that we put in there, because you really need to be ready to sell your business at any time, because who knows when something might happen to you. Craig, do you want to finish off?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's it for March 2018. I must correct myself. Before I mentioned that we were talking about phase 13. We were not talking about phase 13, we were talking about phase 11. We're moving into phase 13 in the next month, which is April 2018. So remember to like the video on Facebook or wherever you are obtaining the content. As always, there will be the show notes. That's businesslegallifecycle.com.au/075 for episode 75. So jump on there and get the notes. We know you would have got a lot out of the interview, and we thank David again for joining us. So we'll be back on Monday in April 2018 for the next episode of Business Legal Lifecycle TV. So as always, thanks for joining us. We'll see you later.
See you later.